So the blind spot, it's not necessarily because it has to do anything with my vision status. It's mainly because of the simple fact that there are certain things going on in the world that we don't know. Well, I mean, it's been so many years. So like, what, what, what? I mean, aside from like how things are, plus like, I don't know what Mr. Tzib is working with, especially when it comes to project related. And I actually do want to know.
Well, it's good. It's good to see you again, Juan. It's been a lot of years. Indeed, a lot of years we haven't met each other and actually had a conversation. Currently, I'm working on actually 3 or 4 projects. I think one of them is about establishing a library in my community. The library was basically abandoned some years ago, and what we're trying to do along with other partners on the community is to re-establish it, open it again, have a space for not only books but also technology. We're trying to bring in Chromebooks and laptops so that children can come in and learn about how to use the technology, and also about learn about any material that they're learning in the classroom. So that's one of the projects that they're working on, and I think we're collaborating also with the Image Factory to see how we could also push ideas of decolonization in the village itself, where we want people to start to rethink history, rethink the stories about themselves, basically,
So
and their
like,
perspective.
so like, in terms of perspective, um, would it be something similar to like changing certain, like the order of how history is displayed, or is it something different of that nature?
Yes, well, one of the things that I always go along with is that history always has a purpose. Just like whenever you write anything, it has a purpose. You're writing it from a perspective and you're writing it for something, right? So the history that we're trying to teach, or we're trying to convey to our villagers and to Belize on a whole, is basically the history about empowerment and saying, hey, your story matters, your side of the story matters. The major issue here is that we've been taught one side of the story for so long that whenever people hear that new perspective, it almost seems controversial. Like, some people get defensive about it.
Indeed. So like it's so like especially to people where they've pretty much had a view on that particular perspective.
The idea behind decolonizing history itself is about presenting that story from the subaltern. Subaltern simply means like the regular people, and a lot of these stories are not written. That's it. That's the reality. So part of the job of dealing with history itself is precisely this. Sitting down with people
And gathering their stories.
Yes, just collect their stories, just talk about it. A lot of people may joke about it and say, I have nothing to say. But the fact that they share something tells about themselves, because at the end of the day, we're products of our society. And when they share a thought or they share a view, they're saying something not only about themselves but about their community and about the society itself. So I always tell people whenever I interview them, some people get nervous when they're going to be interviewed. Just share whatever you want to share. I mean, you may think it's insignificant, and it may seem insignificant right now, but 10, 20 years from now,
Not even try taking on the role with history, and I actually really like that, because I'm doing the same, where I just want everything to count and not leave no stone unturned.
Well, I think that's also very important. One of the things that is controversial, and I think some historians may still not like, is the fact that even lies are good. Lies are good, you know why? Because some people will portray a particular lie about themselves or a particular lie about society. And it may be a lie, and we may look at the facts and say, you know what, it's a total lie. But that lie shaped people's lives.
Actually,
And sometimes yes, it is. And it shapes people's lives, and people build sometimes a whole idea behind a lie.
Especially seeing as the way how community travels news fast.
Yes.
That whole entire lie could shape how we think of the world in a night, or even to certain parts of the world.
To understand these things and trying to make sense of humanity itself, making sense of people and their reality.
I do think all of that's really, really important, especially the part where lies matter, because like like I said before, people change people, and that's the only way it happens. And the human aspect always has to come, because we're telling history from a human's perspective.
Because what we're doing is including the Belizean human in this story. That's where we're trying to include most of those narratives, where we're trying to put in, for a lot of period of time, I could say the colonial system just taught European history, and from one perspective, which is, for example, Marcos Canolo was a bandit if he was not presented as a hero. Now we're trying to present him as a hero because he was the one fighting against the colonial order. The Maya were portrayed as invaders in the land of the Belize State Company. Now we're trying to say, hey, but that was the land of the Maya. It was the Belize
That was
State
the land of the Maya like long ago.
Yes, so all of these new narratives are very important, because then it tells you that, hey, it was not only that, the Europeans are portraying one thing, but we need to present something that is different, because it is something that is rooted in the people of Belize and in the soil of Belize.
Do you ever think it will change the minds of the people that had revolved around one view?
Well, I think the project of decolonizing, and we're not the first to try this. I think it started, I would say, even from the 1950s with the work of the nationalist movement. The project of removing this particular, I call it seasoning, like we have been seasoned into colonialism for so many years with one story. This project of removing that seasoning will cause some frustration with some people, and it's normal. And we are to expect that, because if there's no frustration, then we're not doing the work. You understand? So people will get some discomfort, and that's part of the process, where the people, the first clash with the new information sort of creates a discomfort, and then they begin to say, all right, probably let me research. And that's why we always come back to the idea of questioning, where we want people to start to question, to think about, but why is he presenting this totally different perspective from what I was taught? And then search for those answers.
It always comes back to it, because the basic form of a human is to always question. There isn't supposed to be a side where someone just accepts of you. Well, you'll of course run into those humans where they pretty much just accept anything that comes to them. But to those, there are people who really can question and really want to just know more. And I think whenever humans question like that, it's just to show their amount of curiosity on how far they are willing to try and to test the views of the people they are around. I'm sure they're probably gonna get some major issues along the way, but like I said, it's always just a show of their curiosity, because people, we always want more. We always want to have more information, more knowledge, and more things to look at when it comes to knowing our country, knowing the people.
A lot of people will come to challenge the perspective, and it's fine. It's fine. The point is, if we created the debate, or if we created the controversy already, we're already doing something. Because people are already hearing another side, and if you want to counter it, fine. Because as long as the debate is there, that's also part of this whole idea of questioning, in order for you to search for who you are.
And especially when it comes to people, that too will be archived eventually. So I think you'll always have people trying to challenge it and say that this belief isn't this way, this entire story is told wrong. But it always has to come to not only a factual perspective, but from the perspective, indeed. So like from the time you write a story and you say when you write the story, you say the end. It's not the end, because as soon as the word end touches, that's when the chain links back and it creates another story for you or for many other people to start discovering and trying to figure out. Like you said, the history is not the past, it's the study of it. And